shout out my homie JR. Dopest natives alive, baby. Let's go.
Dopest natives alive.
Dopest natives alive.
Give me chills.
The Dopest natives alive, Northside Bay. Boom.
Welcome, friends and family and folks. We're coming into Zach Saunders, my big neff. I know this song, but it's slipping my mind. But we'll just leave it. We'll let it ride. Not over you. Did you guys see me squinting with my diabetic eyes?
Time is just a number, living life.
If you haven't noticed, you're back in the house with Rich Young, your favorite uncle, Dopest Natives Alive. We're here live downtown East Side. We got a dope guest in the house that we're going to talk about a business, the partnership, and how she's supporting all of you out there, all the Dopest Natives Alive out there. The business that we're going to build together is going to support this platform. And we're going to bring it. We're bringing big things. It's growing, man. You know, like I said a few years ago, this was just stickmen on the wall. Dopest Natives Alive. And here we're making power moves. We got boss ladies up in this BZ. It's coming in. So without further ado, we want to introduce you to Miss Rattlesnake.
Insane. I am Jasmine Rattlesnake from Muscatchees, Alberta in Edmonton. Ermineskin First Nations. So I am Cree and I have a mix of East Indian in me as well. My mother is definitely the Cree side from my roots, and my father would be the background of my East Indian side. So I guess I'm a little Indian east to west, nice. Right?
Nice.
But yeah, I am originally from Edmonton. Basically born and raised a little bit outside of it, St. Paul, which is just a small town. From there, I actually started in the auto industry, which is where I originally kind of started within sales and worked my way up to finance. And then eventually I ended up opening my own LTD. Now I broker through West BC Auto Agents here in Langley. Cool. I've licensed myself now in both provinces. So, yeah, it's been a journey. If you asked me about 8 years ago if I would be selling cars, I'd probably call you crazy. But every decision's kind of led me up to here. So, yeah.
Well, I want to save a little bit of that for later.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I want to get focused on you, being mixed ethnicities, being East Indian and, what are we, West Indian? No, we're not West Indians. We're just Indians. That's what they told me. We're called Indians according to them. But you're of mixed heritage, and one of your good friends was just in here. She lit up the podcast the other day, Loka, a.k.a. Locahontas. She was just here, and she's also of mixed ethnicity as well. Mm-hmm. And she faced a lot of, people doubting that she's even Indigenous. Right? Did you grow up with
a lot of that?
Those types of stuff?
Absolutely. I think that up until recently, a lot of Indigenous, First Nations, we weren't really always open and welcomed to say that we're First Nations. I think that it was very frowned upon. Up until we shined a little bit of light on, the history of Canada and what it means to be Indigenous. A lot more people are, vocalizing on First Nations and breaking that kind of trauma cycle. Because growing up, I definitely grew up in I would say, more of a white society. So I'd hear things like, I can't believe we have a brown girl in our class. And I was probably only in grade 4. And at that age, you don't really know that you're indifferent or, that skin tone or anything play a role until you're on that other side of the fence. Exactly.
We weren't what was popular, what was popping in a lot of people's area. And, on this podcast, we bring a lot of it to light. And then you get all the people on the sidelines coming in and saying, quit your crying and so on and so forth. But they don't understand what it was like for me. I grew up in an area where it was kind of, I was ashamed to be First Nations because of all the stereotypes around it. And I grew up hanging out with all the immigrants because all the immigrants were in the basement of all the high schools where nobody liked to be. And all the cool guys had their main level lockers. And, you know, as soon as you walk in, you've seen all the cool guys. I was
Yeah.
downstairs with all the outlaws. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of just how it had to happen, right? And we're trying to demonstrate that now. Actually, Indigenous is damn cool.
It is, yeah.
Right.
And there's a lot of stigma to that, especially because I grew up in the foster system side of things
Yeah. In Edmonton?
in Edmonton. Yeah. So did the group homes, did all of that. And it's obviously not a built system for success.
Yeah.
You know, anyone that I've basically grown up with, you know, they're pretty much not here with us anymore, rest in peace, or in jail, or you know, women
Extensions
are fighting
of the system.
different situations through, well, exactly, extensions of the system. And
Right.
it's not built for us to really succeed or find a way out of it.
Yeah.
But
We've changed residential schools and those types of things for foster care and group homes and prison systems. It's just changed, but it's the same
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, and I struggle with, you know, identity, I think, just coming from not having that background or history or culture
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
So anything that is taught is very much self-taught.
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't even know how to extend to those resources or, you know, to learn more or build that community or where to go from there. So I'm grateful for anyone and everything that teaches me, you know, mostly about my culture and tradition. Being on reserve, I have like some really good friends and stuff. And I learned through them when, you know, family members of theirs have passed away and that ceremony to it and things like that. But there's so much more that I crave, especially just not knowing, you know, identity issues and things like that, and growing up and like healing with that inner trauma and moving forward. So I think that a lot of us, it's difficult for us to find peace in that, and
Yeah.
we struggle with it with, you know, it can be like substance abuse, gambling, things like that.
Yeah. And those were parts of that affected your life as well? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely went through, I would say like, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes like when I'm on reserve, I don't feel native enough to be on reserve.
Yeah.
But then when I'm in city limits, I don't feel native enough to be in the city. Like even when I apply for like school and funding and things like that, I have a status card. You know, my grandfather was the chief of my reserve, and because my mom, I guess, didn't register me in a certain way of the band, you know, I lose out on a lot of benefits and things like that, you know, could have done a lot for me in the sense of making better decisions and financial decisions. Like if I ever had a trust fund at 18, I feel like I would be in a totally different space and place. But you know, I didn't even get benefits to go to school. I have student loans that I need to just pay like an average person, right? And they kind of glorify, you know, having a status card, because a lot of people are like, oh, your status, you know, you have a card, like you must get a lot of things for free. And I think that there's like a huge misunderstanding about what the benefits are there for us.
Brand new Benz outside, free, thanks to the taxpayers. Right? That's what they think.
Exactly.
Right? So you said you grew up a little bit on Ermineskin, like you ran around there with knits and...
I was actually...
Res life?
I definitely have been on the reserve. I didn't grow up there. I actually grew up within the city limits, but it was a lot of group homes.
Oh, down
and lots
in Edmonton,
of, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I was basically in the foster system right out of my mom's womb at that point. I was the youngest of 7.
You know, and it's sad because they would wait. They would wait for the mothers to have babies and just gone.
It's
right?
terrible. It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I've you know, I got family from Edmonton. We're from the north side. I'm not claiming north side. I haven't grown up there, but I guess that's the tough side of town.
It is, yeah. North side at heart, I always say.
Right? I think it was 118th and 95th around there where my dad's house was, but I remember being in Millwoods and a few other places. And, yeah, I remember there's this big white house at this park. I think it's on 95th and something, but it had a big rainbow on the side.
Okay.
And I really liked the girl that lived that place. She was really nice. She was non-Indigenous, but she was really nice, you know.
Yeah.
And you were saying, so Ermiskin, that's the reserve that you're from.
It
Did you,
is.
by any chance, know Nikki Ermiskin?
No.
I don't even know if you're from Ermiskin, Nikki. I just assume because her last
Because
name is
of the last
Ermiskin.
name.
But I think she's on the island now.
Yeah.
She's been big in the hip hop industry and stuff.
That's awesome.
Back in the day, working with the youth, young people at Kaya.
Oh, I love that.
Doing mixtapes and cool stuff. So she's still out.
Yeah.
And about. Pretty sure she's from Ermiskin though, but
It would make sense.
right.
It would
why
align.
Why would you have that name if you weren't
Just from Samson, the other side.
right. Samson. Now that you say Samson, I believe that's where Rex Smallboy is from because he was just there at the Samson powwow, I believe.
Yeah, they just had a big powwow as well.
And I believe Northern Cree took first place.
That's exciting.
Dopest drum. Well, my second dope is a favorite is Midnight Express. Is that a big thing for you, powwow?
I only got introduced to it at a very young age. I don't feel like I was able to connect to it because I lived in, a white home.
Yeah.
I feel like I lost out on a lot of that. I remember being a little girl and like seeing them dressed up in like their jingle dresses, and I just thought they were so beautiful, and like I always wanted to be more involved in it.
Yeah.
Except I didn't have the resources or the stability, and I was always constantly like, being moved around at a very vulnerable age. So, if, like I said, if anything that was ever taught to me, it was always self-taught. It was always me going out of the way to learn and figure it out myself. So it's, definitely
And which is
something
really important because that's the way it should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you like, a lot of people want to have the prestige of being Indigenous, but don't want to put in the work to sit with elders and learn the actual protocols,
Right.
offer tobacco, all those things, right?
Absolutely.
So it's good on you that you did.
Yeah.
And although you may have struggled with what Loca said was imposter syndrome. I'm not sure if that's how you felt, but the thing is your story is exactly Indigenous, to have been whisked away from your mother at a young age, brought through the system, living in a non-Indigenous foster home, and then into, all these things to break you from who you are and who your culture. Like they did it, you've got the Indigenous treatment,
Absolutely.
and you carry the story, so they're absolutely 100% authentically Indigenous.
They are.
Experience.
They are. Absolutely. I struggle with a lot of the history. I think that if I start saying things that I've been and I went through, and sometimes the trauma of it, like just because I lived through it, I'll like say what I've been through, and then sometimes people are like jaw dropped, and they're
Right.
I'm like, to me it happened when I was 16, but it's a very traumatic story. You don't expect somebody to go through it. But that's like a different chapter of my life I've obviously grown through, and it's okay for me to talk about it. Like, for example, I'll just say like in foster homes, they didn't have enough space to place me in a group home essentially.
Yeah.
So what they did for me or to me was basically at a very young age, I would say like I was probably 15, 16 years old. They removed me from I would say the most stable foster home that I've had, like I would call that foster parent my mother. But at that time, they didn't have any placements for me within a group home. They just didn't have space. So they had somebody watch me night and day within a hotel while I was sleeping, probably for about 4 or 5 days. That was it. Like I barely left the place or anything. They would just like sit there and watch me. Take shifts and all of that. And then eventually they were like, okay, we have a place for her to go. And they literally just placed me in open custody, which is where, youth go to serve time in the community outside of them serving time in jail.
Okay.
So I basically was thrown in that situation and treated as a
from there.
criminal, right?
I know people who had that happen,
Yeah. So that's basically situations I've survived in.
Yeah.
I didn't ask to be there. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was still treated in such a way where it's like, if you leave, you'll get a charge. If, and it's just so, I guess it is very traumatizing to talk about and realize damn, I really lived through that kind of stuff. And, not by choice, obviously, but, you know, you are a child of the government, and they do just kind of drop you off
Forcefully.
where they. Mm-hmm.
Forcefully a child of this government. We're
Yeah.
not child of the children of this government. Just so you guys know, don't get it fucking twisted. We're not your people. We're our people,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is, you know, I was talking with my wife about this, and you know, talking about like people who share their healing stories to help others and stuff. Is like when I show up, I don't show up with all my baggage of trauma from those days. You know, those old days, like. That happened then,
Yeah,
you know, like that was a
exactly.
long time ago, and I've worked to get away from that, and that's not who I am today. You know what I mean? So when I'm talking about my experience of who I am today, and what I have today, and what I hope to have and work towards tomorrow if I'm blessed to
Absolutely.
wake up tomorrow, right? But definitely, I feel like some people who are doing the work are still carrying that stuff like it just happened, and they want to share and help from it, but they haven't separated themselves and moved away from it. You know,
Like the grievance of the anger, the denial, the acceptance part. Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
cool because we were talking about like time traveling. I said, you know, if you ever want to time travel, like if I want to, I'll play. Like I just took my late father's toys out of my storage.
Oh, wow.
And he played with toys at 60, 70 years old with his brother with remote control cars because they're fulfilling childhood voids and just being children finally, you know.
Aw.
And so I have his toys, and then I just had this thought, like, you know, if you ever want to time travel, just sit there and play with the toys. And my wife said, you know, every time I go to the store, I see a Barbie, I want to buy it. But I don't because I feel like you'd make fun of me. And I was like, absolutely not. You should buy that Barbie because that little girl who never had one wants to play with it. And just play with it until you had enough, you know, fun with it, and then put it up on the
I
shelf.
love that.
Right?
That's beautiful.
And it's because you will like time travel back to these moments that you remember, or being a child again. And
Filling a void.
which brings me, when we were talking earlier, to some trauma work that I did,
Yeah.
where they asked me, remember the very first time I felt abandoned. And they asked me to visually paint that picture, and it was in Edmonton, and my mom and dad showed up, and my auntie, I was at my auntie's house, they showed up, and I was so happy. When you're a kid, you used to get those butterflies in your stomach, you get so excited.
Yeah.
And then my dad gave me $2, and he's like, oh, go to the store, get yourself some candy. And I was so excited, and when I got back, they were gone.
$2 went a long way back then.
Yeah. But the crushing feeling to know that it was a trick to get rid of me so they can leave again for another week, 2 weeks of drinking,
Yeah.
that was the first time I can remember that feeling of abandonment.
Separation anxiety as well.
And
Yeah.
so what we did is we role played that, and they got somebody else to come in and play me, and I went back to this scene of when I first felt that, and I had to go get myself out of there. Pick that person up, which was me, and tell them, you know, I love you, and you don't have to be stuck here anymore. You know, and I'm coming to get you. And brought that person, and I walked away with that person. It was a really emotional thing.
It is.
And I lost so much anxiety and panic attacks and everything I used to have. Gone, right?
I believe it.
And I've been in such a better place from going to get me out of that spot that I was stuck all those years.
And how does it, like, for me, I guess my question is, because I have a daughter and I couldn't imagine anything that I've been through that I would ever want her to go through it.
Yeah.
So you having kids and stuff like that, I just can't fathom that you would ever, I guess, do that towards them, to them. And it's hard for you to kind of wrap your head around how, you know.
Yeah, like to go through the experiences that I went through. Oh man, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I know this interview is not about me, but my wife was talking again to my relative, and she was telling my wife about. She's like, "Man, this guy like had no food as a kid, like a little child, no food and nothing, like, and just I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a sad thing, but in that, and I'll air this out because I don't really care. The little shit. My son just told us to fuck off and die, and he doesn't want to come to our funerals if we ever die because I'm holding him accountable for his behaviors and his actions. But I think I probably, to answer your question is,
Yeah.
I over-parented. I made sure he had Jordans right until he was 19 years old, right? Versace suits and stuff for graduations, Lexus cars, everything.
Got it.
And then the moment that he got fired, and I said, well, give me back the studio keys and the car.
Yeah.
And that was it. I ruined his life. Fuck me. Fuck your mom. All this.
Because he never
other
went through any hardships to
He
kind of
doesn't
have
know.
to scrape the knees and pick himself back
So
up.
the point I was making about my childhood was my cousin was like, you don't understand the life that your husband lived and had to go through and how you guys are done so good with your kids. He just doesn't understand that,
Yeah.
So I think in our deficit, we can kind of overfill.
Overcompensate.
Overcompensate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's in line with what you were thinking.
I think so. Like, it's beautiful for sharing because I feel like I have to navigate over pouring into my daughter as well. And that's something I just recently learned because it's like, when is showing up too much showing up that you're trying to heal something from your past versus like letting them fall down, scrape their knees, and learn that lesson.
Well, my son does have some wisdom.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, Dad, my life isn't your life. The fears that you had as a child, I don't have those fears. Like, I'm not, East Van ain't the same as it used to be. Right? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, no, it's not the same like when it was you. And then he gets pepper sprayed at Broadway Station. I'm like, there you go. Told you. East Van has still got a dirty side. So
Yeah. Yeah.
But what can you do, right?
Absolutely.
So like these things, these barriers that you faced are just as an Indigenous story that is told over and over, and we have such similar stories. And the thing about you being, and I won't claim and downplay your Indian side, but your Indigenous side, the resiliency that we have as Indigenous people, we're still here.
Absolutely.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And that resiliency you've shown to overcome, these, they threw everything at you that should have broke you. And you've overcome that to where, how I know you is as a entrepreneur and as a business lady. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of that came from also learning like through my relationships. I know that we were talking about that before. What broke me to be an entrepreneur was actually being in a terrible relationship that really broke me spiritually, financially, mentally.
Yeah.
Just brought me down into a very, very dark space. And he was successful in his own right. So I kind of just stood up and got mad at myself. And I was like, if he can do it, I can do it, So I started just reaching out to, I went on the CRA, I believe, and I was kind of like researching like how a lot of First Nations can start their business because I had absolutely no knowledge of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to start a business, but I was like, how am I going to navigate that? I want to learn. So I ended up finding a cohort, which was online, and I ended up applying, and I think there was thousands of applicants.
Yeah.
And it was for women entrepreneurs.
Okay, yeah.
I went through a series of like interviews. I had to get letters and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I reached out to them. They were called the Niwi program. So they're based out of Ottawa, I believe. And they taught me how to run a business from the ground up. So I was selected against a couple hundred other women, and they taught me how to build a business for free. And I got to meet women from all over Canada who, already had a business or just starting or wanted or just on different levels.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did learn through social services and going through things was use your resources.
Yeah.
We as First Nations have so many resources,
Yeah.
and some of them are so untapped and untouched when it comes to bursaries and grants and things like that. And that's definitely one thing I took from foster system is you have resources, use them, find them.
Yeah.
So that's basically what kind of started my journey, especially wanting to learn business. I didn't have to pay for it, get another student loan, things like that. But the fact that I was accepted out of thousands of applicants, it just meant so much to me. So I ended up learning that, created my LTD, and as of today, I'm still navigating those pivots and learning and experiences through just being an entrepreneur and having crazy faith that this will all work out for me. So
Well, I just also want to highlight to all the taxpayers out there that she actually received millions of dollars that is she doesn't have to pay back out of your pockets.
yeah.
This is called rage baiting. I'm just getting these guys. This is for the viral reels, because they're gonna come at us in the comments, because they're gonna read between the lines of everything you said. All the resources and this, they got resources too. They got all our resources, actually.
They have tons of resources
Right.
and bursaries and grants, and it's all just sitting there. It's just put in the work.
Yeah, but it's good. It's great that you were able to go through the fire and the resiliency to become your own boss lady, running your own business. Rattlesnake Auto Loans?
Rattlesnake Auto Loans, yeah.
Rattlesnake Auto Loans in the finance business. Outside of that, you also have a plan to do your own podcasting.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is it? I keep seeing it on Facebook. You keep saying subscribe to my
healing journey.
your
Yeah,
healing journey.
yeah. I
Tell
like
us a
to
bit
give.
about that.
A lot of people come to me for advice. I think that I'm definitely a safe space for people.
Yeah.
I've been through so much that I'm definitely kind of that friend that people call and, have a good listening ear. And I'm always going to tell you what you want to hear, whether you don't want to hear it or you do, and whether you take my advice or not. But I do know that I have a lot to offer when it comes to when it comes to addiction, abusive relationships, coming from somewhere and dealing with abandonment traumas and things like that.
Yeah.
I've definitely faced all of it. So I know that I have that spirit and that energy to really like lift people up. And I know that that's, it's a rare energy to have. And I do know that I can't just give it out freely, and I've learned the boundaries with that, but it is a high level honor to be able to speak with someone and them leave the conversation with, more life and more energy rather than feeling drained or just lost. So
Well, this isn't about your business, but the game is sold, not told, is what they used to say, right? And I think even my own podcast here, Spilling the Antes podcast, and a lot of people you go through a lot of hardships. Everything that you've just said, you went through that. Out of those things comes wisdom. If you have the ability to look at it and learn something from it, so you get wise from it. A lot of young people are wise because they've overcome a lot of stuff. Obviously, everybody's got room for improvement. But I think the gold nuggets that Young Elder and Big Auntie and stuff that's happening here is very valuable. And we're giving the people a lot of stuff and a lot of support and a lot of help, right? I don't want to monetize in a sense that, I'm going to say, hey, here's my Cash App. Send me money for just because, I want to make Dopest Natives Live gear, and give you something tangible, some value for what you're and how you're supporting us.
Absolutely.
And I think in your podcast space, that will definitely be it's needed in all our spaces, right?
Yeah.
I get long-winded, but can I tell a quick story?
Absolutely, please.
So there's a story about this elder. I may have told this one. This guy went to visit his elder and to check in on him, and he's a medicine man. And he asked him how he was doing. Are you eating well? And is your bills paid? And the elder just pointed at the cupboards and told him to go look. And so the guy went and he looked in his cupboards, and it was full of prints, right? And prints are what we offer for prayers to the elders. So they take them and they pray with them on your behalf. And then he says, and how are you eating? And he told him to point, to go look in the fridge. So he looked in the fridge, and it was full of tobacco. And those are all the offerings that he received for all the medicine and work and healing he's done in the community. And the lesson that I was told out of that is that elder can't eat that tobacco, and he can't pay his rent with those prints. So never feel conflicted about shaking somebody's hand with a little bit of sunyas, as we say, right? And it makes it easier for people to oh, you shouldn't be paying for medicine, and oh, you should be doing this if you're not doing it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? But you know, I know that people are learning stuff and helping out, and on your podcast they will too.
Absolutely.
You know? And you can't finance everybody else's healing and help and dreams or whatever. You need a little help yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah. The life coaching part of it, right? So if you can't, I feel like that's even with like social workers, let's just say break it down to that, you know, if you haven't been through the system, it's very hard for you to be the best social worker that you could be, because you just don't understand what these kids are going through on a certain level and things like that as well.
Yeah.
So when you go through things, you grow through them. Some people don't. Some people stay stuck.
Yeah.
But if you are able to move forward in a way where you're learning from your mistakes, then absolutely you have wisdom. You have something to teach. You have something to offer.
Do you have a name for that podcast?
Yes, I was going to call it Evolve with Purpose.
Evolve with Purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. Because I truly believe that, you know, healing is definitely something that aligns you with in your purpose. At some point, you know, like you're going to be able to offer, like if I could help heal one person, shit, I did my job. That's how I feel. You know what I mean? And if I could keep that going, then, you know, it's very fulfilling to me. And I feel like that is very purposeful for my heart, and just, I want to help other people, and that makes me feel good because I didn't go through all of those things not to help other people or share that information.
Just brought up another thought, and this is not something towards you. This is what I just like to put out there, is that there's a difference between helping and rescuing. And rescuing is not necessarily a healthy behavior, right? And a lot of people are rescuers, and they think they're helping and doing good, but it's not actually a good or a healthy behavior. And being able to understand that the difference between the two is very important. A lot of people fresh in recovery, fresh out of prison, fresh out of something feel like, because they've been through it, that they're rushing to be these helpers, become these elders and advisors and stuff, but yet still can't really articulate how they've healed and how they learned and what they've used to actually help people.
Absolutely.
So you can get in the cycle of just taking on too much and not being able to set professional boundaries. And it's tough.
Absolutely.
You know, I've had to tell elders, I can't help you with that, but what I can help you is with this. And if you need help with this resource, I can send you to this place. And then, oh, he doesn't care about what I'm going through. No, I do care, but I can only care this much because this is the parameters of what I can do for you. All these other people can fill those other things. It's just not me. And I'm sorry you're feeling not heard, but if I took everybody's story home with me, and it's very traumatic. Some stuff was shared with me online the other day, very heavy stuff. Now I'm living with it, and you have to be able to protect yourself, your energy, your space.
Yeah. Especially if you're an empath.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an empath.
Yeah.
And I always say that you can lead the horse to the water, you can't make it drink.
Right.
And it's definitely something healthy boundaries are definitely necessary, because you can't force someone to change that doesn't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Empathy and forcing somebody to change that doesn't want to. It sounds like auto sales. Right?
Yeah.
There's some grimy stuff that happens in auto sales, and I want to talk about it because, you know, I think Indigenous people, for me, are, okay, there's a term I used to use in social work when I worked in the field.
Okay.
Some people didn't like when I said this, but Indigenous children are little red bags of money. You know, you get paid more for having Indigenous kids, the more issues they get, the more money you get for them. Right? Schools, the more Indigenous kids they get, the more funding. Like, it's just with little red bags of money. Now, when you look at it in the auto finance area, Indigenous people, I was told directly from a salespeople that I worked with that we think Indian people are dumb, and we also hear the cash register, the cha-ching. When we hear status card, we hear money, right? And that really bothered me, and I couldn't work with them anymore after that. And that's kind of like the nature of what we're doing. Well, not we, but what's happening out there. There are a lot of dealerships pandering to Indigenous people, putting little carvings on their walls and little gimmicks to make them feel supported and we've been in business for 25 years. I would like them all to be audited to see if those numbers actually lined up.
Wouldn't
and
that
see
be
if you
nice?
really are Indigenous friends of the Indigenous community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I've experienced it throughout my entire career, learning finance. And it's unfortunate because I broke off a lot of partnerships due to the fact that our values just did not align.
Yeah.
And a lot of that came from, being on the sales side and then finally learning the finance part.
Yeah.
Really how people were being taken advantage of with the numbers,
Yeah.
And it does frustrate me. I have such a passion to help First Nations because I was that little young girl who came out of high school with a daughter. I didn't know anything about credit. Signed out a couple cell phones, did all of that fun stuff, and didn't understand what I was doing to my credit at that time.
Yeah.
And then I got into financing and learned, that First Nations are very much heavily targeted. Yes, one for their status cards, but as well as just if you look online, it's First Nations this, Aboriginal auto finance this and that. And one of the main reasons why I just stuck with Rattlesnake Auto Loans is because I felt like if you are Indigenous and you landed on my page and you looked into it, you would know that I'm Indigenous myself. And I didn't want to just target one specific audience. I really want to help everyone because I feel like even as a woman walking into a dealership, it's scary for us.
Yeah.
We get taken advantage of just being a woman,
Yeah.
So I just really want to help people in the light of when you come to me, you understand your loan from beginning to end because this is your loan. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And I'm super passionate about educating people to understand that when you do come back to me in a year, you're not drowned and you're not backwards. And I'm putting you in a position where if you did drive this to every powwow, you're not going to over kilometer it and you're going to be in a safe place when you come back to me.
Yeah.
And that alone is just treating people like they're human and that's all people really want at the end of the day, instead of hyping it up and saying I can get you this and I can get you that and come to me and you have a status card, and people just don't even feel like they're being treated with simple respect at that point. And I know that when people walk into a dealership, it's a grueling process to sit in a finance office and have them go back and forth and you just finished work, but you're now trying to buy a car and you've been there for hours. And I guarantee you like 99% of the time when they're standing by that car holding the keys, they don't even have a smile on their face by the end of it. They just want to go home,
Right.
So
Well,
it's definitely a process.
I look at it like playing poker with somebody that knows what you got. They know what you're holding because they ran your credit. They know what your credit score is. They know how much you've been approved for and at what rates.
Yeah.
So then they start building the deal from that point.
Yes.
And you don't get to see that until the very end. And so, for example, you're already at a disadvantage because they already see the cards, your cards, and you're betting into them, and you're like, I'm all in. They're like, okay, I call. Like, they already got you.
Yeah.
So they know what your approval is. Let's say it's $30,000. You only want to buy a car, and they sell you the monthly payment. I only want to pay $300 a month, and that only equals up to $22,000. Okay, so how do we spend this other $8,000 that he's approved for, right?
Yeah.
So let's do it through. Well, let's for a price of a coffee, you can get a sunroof and air conditioning.
Yeah.
So there's all these tactics.
Stretch it out just a little bit more here.
And then you go from, let's say 48 months up to 84 months. Now, all these things translate into a lot more interest, a lot more money.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening to our elders and so on and so forth. I don't know if I'm correct in how I'm kind of putting this together.
Analogies, absolutely. Yeah.
Then, so from what I understand is, so now I know that you are approved for $30,000. So I know $30,000, and then what is the tax rate on that? 6% or 7%?
At the lowest, that's like prime. right now is like a 6.99.
No,
But like,
the tax on a $30,000 loan.
oh yeah. Depending which
Is it
province you
12%?
are, 5 or
7,
12, 12
Yeah.
here. But
Let's
yes,
just say it's 12%
yeah,
on 30,000. What's the math on that? Is
it's
that
like 2,300, something
2,300?
like that.
So now that 2,300, they already know that, okay, somehow we got to bury this 2,300
Yep.
in. And then we're going to do that by saying this vehicle, we're selling you this vehicle for $21,000. We only paid 18. That's was the original price. But now to you, it's 21,000.
Yep.
And then at the end of it all, you're at 30,000. They say, but you saved 2,300 on
Yeah.
tax, and you saved this, and that, and really you didn't save jack shit. They
Yeah.
took your tax saving, and I think they should be audited and fucking charged for fraud. Because
It's frustrating.
you have it non-Indigenous people saying, "Well, how come I gotta pay taxes? You guys always getting all these good deals, bro. We're getting screwed.
Absolutely.
This
Yeah.
ain't not what you think it is."
There's two sides of that. It's a double-edged sword because I feel like sometimes when we do have that little bit of money and it's like a $20,000 loan and the high interest rate,
Yeah.
that $2,000 can change somebody from going into a car to an SUV for their kids, right?
Yeah.
Now, depending on if you're doing that in a proper way,
Transparent way.
exactly.
Prior
Because
informed.
sadly, I have seen so many dealerships take advantage, especially of our elderly. I won't say names and I won't say anything, but for an example, if you run somebody's credit, you probably are only equipped up to 2 loans. One of them can be joint as well because there's such thing as credit utilization and how much you make during the year and what you can really pay off, right? And to that advantage, there's a lot of finance managers that are really greasy enough to, unfortunately, put people, and I've seen it. I have this one elderly gentleman, and I want to say he's in his 70s, and he helped sign for his daughter.
Yeah.
So he has his wife, his daughter, and his loan.
Yeah.
And what they did was he had one loan, and he went in to go sign for his daughter. They rolled 2 other loans at the same time with different lenders. So at that point, credit didn't know, like, okay, he's getting a loan here, getting a loan there. An average person is only allowed to have 1 loan and maybe 1 joint. And this guy is caught with full 3 loans and he's 70.
Wow.
He will never get out of that situation, unfortunately. And if he ever needed a new vehicle, say in the next 2 or 3 years, there is absolutely no lender that would ever lend to him because his utilization is here. And all he did was try to help his wife and his daughter. And that finance manager just took advantage of that situation and was like, I'm going to roll 2 vehicles at once and the banks won't know. Now he's stuck in 3 complete loans that, you know, at the end of the day, the guy only makes X amount of money, you know, and eventually those kilometers and what they're worth and all of that, he'll never, ever be able to pay that off. And and that stuff just like breaks my heart to a core. And I have to be the bearer of bad news and explain those things. And it's such a shitty feeling.
Well, what is the life expectancy of a man these days in Canada, Indigenous man? 72, 77? You know, so he doesn't have enough time to pay all these off.
Nope.
This isn't a joke, but hopefully he got reeled in for life insurance that's going to pay off all these loans in the purpose
We would hope.
situation that he passed away.
Right.
You know, because I've heard that sales pitch too. Like, so if you die, you want your wife to pay this off? And I'm just like,
oh my goodness.
okay.
They can sell life insurance and things like that within the deal as well. But
So
a lot of people don't know how to utilize that as well.
Yeah, so you got like gap insurance, life insurance, you got all types of warranties and stuff.
Absolutely.
So the company you're working with
is West BC Auto Agents here in
West
Langley.
BC Auto Agents. We got Rattlesnake Auto, and you also got Dopest Natives Alive Auto.
Yes.
And what we got going here is we're showing you our cards first, because what I want you to know is if you deal with Jasmine, you deal with me. I've already met and spoke with the manager over there. We've had a phone conversation, and we are in an alignment to make sure that we're transparent, and we are going to give the best deal possible, so that we can help you.
Absolutely.
Like, we can't make miracles happen, you know, and other places will promise you the world and then under-deliver. We're going to try to make sure you know right off where you're at. But I've already vetted Jeffrey and the dealership that you're working with.
Yeah.
And Jasmine, we are in alignment with how we feel our people are getting taken advantage of. And the cool thing about it is any money that I raise through any deals that come through us, Dopest Natives Alive, or that I can refer on to Jasmine, those monies will directly support the operations here, us allowing to fly people in, guests, and have catering and bigger spaces. We got 2 young ladies that are just starting out that we're supporting at no cost, and actually investing dollars into build space for them at no cost, because that's what we want to do. So make sure you support Jasmine at Rattlesnake Auto and Dopest Natives Alive Auto. Reach out to us, and we'll make sure that we work with you in the most prior informed consent. Make sure you understand the deal before you sign anything. Truth and transparency, truth and reconciliation, all those good things. That's what we're in alignment for. And, Jasmine, thank you for coming. You're a testament to resiliency. Shout out to Talon, who is also, as he says, a double Indian. If you know Talon,
I have,
right?
but I love that.
And Talon's dope rapper. So shout out to Talon. He was
Definitely
just
him.
here. You've went through the storm. You have a very Indigenous experience, and there's nobody can take that from you, right?
I appreciate that.
And Rattlesnake Auto, we wish you all the success in that, and your podcast, whatever we can do. You've seen it, you've experienced it, you know what to do next steps, and anything we can do to support that, we're down to always support you. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me. This was an amazing experience.
Right on.
I appreciate you giving me the voice and the platform to say what I have to, and grateful for it. So thank you.
Yeah. Any last words before we go out to another song here on our outro? Any shout outs, your business? Where can people find you at? Emails?
You can find me at rattlesnakeautoloans.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and I can definitely share some information if need be. But Instagram and Facebook is definitely where you can find me. So
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. We're going to go out to another song. My nephew Zach Saunders in the building here. He's holding down the sound man duties today. You can hear him cracking his back and bending the chair around and making all this racket back there. But thanks. This was another awesome episode. Rattlesnake Auto Loans, Dopest Natives Dopest Natives Alive Auto Loans, and West BC Auto Agents. Shout out to Jeffrey if you're watching this. I need to get my VSA license. Hopefully you got the paperwork in. I'll bring the cheddar so everything gets better. Peace and bear grease.